Live from the 4 Aces Studios, 4 Aces brings to you West Coast Bias.
The following 4 Aces production is for mature audiences only. Listener discretion is highly advised.
Hey, what's up, y'all? What's up? It is West Coast Bias Day again for the second time this month. Yes, y'all have been blessed with 2 episodes this month. That's right. We bring to you West Coast Bias. Unfortunately, we are down Miss O'Malley today, probably out celebrating or celebrating that Memorial Day. Let's see, but we do have the one and only, our resident basketball guy, the Doual, here with us. What is up, Doual?
What's up, man? What's going on?
Not much. Well, prior to us coming on air, I told Doual I had a surprise for him for this episode. So I figured we'd catch this response on air. So let's get this person on the line here. Let's see. Hello?
What's up, man?
What's up, man? You want to say what's up, Doual?
What's up, Doual? What's up, man? How you doing, sir? Just another day trying to survive, you feel me? Yeah, I feel you.
For those of y'all who don't know and don't know, we the one who's joining us this afternoon is the one and only Suave. One of the guys, for those of you guys who really don't know, us 3 are the 3 that started West Coast Bias way back in the day, when it was just a podcast with NPC Comics, our friends' comic book company, all the way through Blog Talk Radio, etc. So it's good to have the originals back in the house again. We miss you, O'Malley. Wish you were here. It'd be nice to have the whole squad together, but enjoy your weekend, madam. All right, guys. So let's talk some what I consider playoff basketball. I was kind of offended by the fact that they said the playoffs didn't start until the first round. To me, the play-in tournament is part of the playoffs. It's just the one and done part of the playoffs, or 2 and done in the Warriors' case. So let's start there. Let's start with that 7-8 game between the Lakers and the Warriors that was eventually won by the Lakers, but damn it, did the Warriors make you believe there for a minute. Suave, since you ain't been on in a while, we ain't heard your voice on this piece. Why don't you kick us off with your thoughts on that opening game to the Western Conference playoffs?
It was a good game. I mean, it was definitely entertaining. Warriors had the lead at the half, and Lakers chipped away and were able to, you got to give props to LeBron. He hit 2 major threes to really kind of seal the game. And the Warriors had their opportunities, ran out of gas, and you got to give Lakers credit for that. They chipped away at the lead, and Warriors made mistakes, and Lakers capitalized, and they came away with the victory.
Yeah. Amen. Doual, Your thoughts on your Lakers getting that W in that first game to secure that 7th seed?
Well, first of all, they shouldn't have been in the playing game. Let's just start with that. Secondly, it was a good win. It was a good win against a good team. But they didn't put themselves in a good position, didn't take care of business during the season, and slid. I mean, I know it's tough in the West, but you can't allow anything to alter your course. And there's been some roadblocks and some obstacles in their course, and you can't let that happen. So they shouldn't have been in the 7th seed, but since they were there, they were forced to play a good team. And unfortunately, they only have to play one of those games. But it was a good game and a good win against a good team.
For sure. Like I put it to you like this: I'm not one to ever say, shit happens, injuries happen, so on and so forth. But damn it, do I wish that them Warriors had James Wiseman. Not that he would have made a huge difference, but he'd have been another body to throw at AD. And I think the bodies got worn out late in that game. Boy, do I wish they had Kelly Oubre Jr. to give Wiggins a rest on guard LeBron. Not that he would have been able to stop LeBron, but he could annoy the shit out of him. And it's just like I'll use a prime example. I love Steph to death. There is absolutely no reason in hell why Steph should have been on LeBron, even with LeBron being that far out. There's no reason. Steph's a halfway decent defender. He's not that good of a defender. He should not be on the other team's best player. And so, like I said, it was a good game. The Lakers deserved that win. They pulled it back from what I thought the Warriors had them. And, well, little did I know it wasn't the Warriors' year to be in the playoffs at all. Let's get to that next game. As we know, Memphis was able to secure themselves a spot by getting a victory over the Spurs. And what, to me, was a lackluster game. What were y'all thoughts on it? Doual, kick us off.
Memphis is a young team, with a lot of confidence. And San Antonio's kind of in the middle of the road right now, at best, trying to find their way. And that's just, it's a lot of different things going on there. So, they played hard. But again, Memphis is young. They're talented. They're hungry. So I wouldn't say it was an easy win for them, but it was almost a foregone conclusion.
Yeah, I think a lot of it had to do with Valanciunas and his 20 and 20. Like, when your big man gives you 20 and 20, you're in a good place. At the end of the day, though, Swab, how did you feel about Memphis, that young, hungry Memphis team, getting that victory over San Antonio, over the grizzled young veterans that are San Antonio?
I mean, Memphis got more contributions from players that they needed. DeRozan was kind of a one-man army, and to be honest, Spurs ought to be happy that the game was even close at all. The Memphis had 3 guys go for 20+, and typically when that happens, you're going to have a good opportunity to win, especially when the other team only has one person go for over 20. And yet San Antonio, was still San Antonio. They only lost by a couple of points, meaning they were in the game. Even with, one person actually having a decent game and everyone else just kind of chipping in. But, you kind of give your salutes to Pops. He's still trying to do his thing out there. They're still slowly building. I'm sure that they missed Aldridge in a sense, another guy that can put it in the bucket. But so far, it's kind of been Memphis' coming out party. I mean, John Morant looks like the real deal. Valanciunas was a great pickup, and looks like was definitely a piece that they were missing. Sure, they're still on the bottom end of the playoffs, but they're definitely trending in the right direction.
Hey, better to be in than not. I do agree with that. I just don't agree with that. It's better to get to the last game and lose than it is to not get to the last game. But all right, so so that led us to a matchup that I thought after watching the game at the end of the season. So for those of you guys who don't know, Memphis and the Warriors played at the end of the season, last game of the regular season. They played each other to see who would be the 8th seed in that whole 7 to 10 seed play-in tournament, and the Warriors won. And they won it. They pretty much won that game handily. But I won't deny that a lot of that had to do with, for some odd reason, Ja Morant was just off. So we come back to this game, and I'm as a Warriors fan, I'm like, okay, we should have this. We got to be better than Memphis. Like they young, they good, but come on now. Steph's hot right now. Steph put up 39 last game, and I ain't gonna lie, I came in cocky, and Ja Morant shut me the fuck up real quick. Coming out with 10, barely 10 in the first quarter, I believe. So, Swab, what were your thoughts on that Warriors second game, and just kind of how, to me, they looked a little lackluster in that second game?
Well, I mean, Memphis took us to overtime. It took Ja hitting some shots late for them to really kind of pull it back. And then, I'll be honest, the Warriors spent a lot of energy in that Laker game, especially late. And even with having a day off in between games, Memphis was able to outlast them. They're a little bit of a deeper bench. The Warriors aren't necessarily at full strength. They're essentially playing a 8-man roster at the moment when they got there. And they just did not have enough to finish off a real young and plucky Memphis squad. I mean, they took them tough, and it was an overtime game, probably one of the better games of the season, depending, for what it was worth, the playing game to get into the playoffs. But, you tip your hat to Memphis. You tip your hat definitely to Ja Morant. I mean, it was just game 2 of his coming out party.
Yep. Doual, your thoughts on the Warriors in that second play-in game?
They felt sweet, as many struggles as they had this year, it was still a good team, and they should have beat that Memphis team. And like you said, they beat them, handily in the last game of the season. But and I think going into that playing game against Memphis, they fell asleep. They would just be an easy win. They can just walk in the arena and walk out the arena, and and that'll be that. They got Steph Curry, and everything's gonna be good. But playoff basketball is different from regular season basketball, and that was kind of the tone, I guess, that the playoff tournament took to it. And you got a team like Memphis, who's never been to the playoffs, and it's their first time, and they're hungry, and like anything's possible, well, they're going to play with that little bit of extra edge. And when you got a Warrior team that's, coming off a championship run, trying to refigure some things out, getting over the injuries, so on and so forth, it's like they didn't have that oomph. They didn't have that extra gear, from the gate. So, coming off that win, they figuring everything's going to be nice and easy. We walk in, we walk out. So the mentality to win wasn't there. The spirit was like, we're going to win, everything's going to be good. When you step on that floor, especially playoff basketball, is different. And Ja Morant really played at a different level. In the playoffs, the book is out on Golden State. They had just played Memphis, so they had all the videotape. They knew how Golden State was going to hit them and where they wanted to be effective, because during the course of the year, they had to make changes to the offense to make it more effective. They did that. So with the tape being out and Memphis knowing how they were, Golden State was going to attack them, they knew what was coming. So they knew how to respond. And Ja Morant knew he had to have a bigger game. He had to beat that all-star. And that's what happened. And Warriors got hit in the mouth, and it was kind of like, uh-oh. Don't get me wrong, it was a good game, but Memphis played with that edge. They played with that some extra, like, we want this a little bit more than you do.
That I can agree with. In that moment, yeah, they played like they wanted it. I think that this is going to be a different Warriors team next year. I think that we'll see a complete. I don't even put them in the play-in tournament next year. I expect them to be at least a top 5 seed next year, but we'll see how that pans out. All right, so let's give our overall thoughts on the play-in tournament as a whole. We know Mr. LeBron James has already said that he doesn't approve, doesn't like it, whatever. Suave, kick us off with your thoughts after such an exciting sequence of games for the East and the West. How was the play-in tournament for you this year? And it's basically it's an inaugural year. This is the first time that they played like close to a full season and had the play-in tournament. So,
Well, I think it adds some intrigue. You know, you're not necessarily guaranteed your spot if you're one of the last 2 seeds. The 2 seeds on the back end right behind that, the technically the 9 and 10 spots, you know, they have an opportunity to squeak in. So, I mean, you know, for me, I like it because a lot of times a team can lose out on a playoff spot by just a couple of games, and it could have come down to a lot of different factors for why they ended up at a 9 or 10 spot. And then, you know, it comes down to like every playoff round, you know, it comes down to health and who's playing well. And, you know, some people just kind of step up in that moment. So it just adds a little bit of intrigue. I actually like it. Sure, this time, you know, we came out on the bad end of it. You know, Warriors should have been the 8 seed, but that's just, you know, those are the breaks now. It's playoff basketball. I think that it definitely builds a little bit of interest, a little bit of excitement, and the games were good. At least on the Western side, the games were good. You know, the Laker-Warrior game was good, and the Warrior-Memphis game was good. It was entertaining basketball. You could definitely, you know, feel the pressure of it. So, I mean, I enjoyed it, and I think that it's a step in the right direction. I don't see anything necessarily wrong with it. You know, as an example, Memphis, as the 9th seed, you know, was able to squeak into the playoff and earn their spot. You know, they got one last shot at the very end of the season to you know, make their way into the playoffs. So I think that, you know, we're going to see a lot of that going forward, where a team that's right on the edge, or technically, I guess you can call it in the bubble, you know, makes that push and, you know, squeezes out a team that, you know, would have been guaranteed a spot, but now has to fight for their lives. And, you know, Memphis did their thing and got in there as an even later seed.
Doual, your thoughts on the play-in tournament as a whole?
Get rid of it. It don't make no sense. You have a tournament for the last 2 teams just to see if the 10th team can make it, or the 9th or the 10th team can make it. No, stupid. The 9th and the 10th team are the 9th and the 10th team for a reason. They weren't good enough to be the 8th and the 7th team. And you only get 8 teams in the playoffs. So put the 8 teams back in the playoffs, get rid of the play-in tournament, and just play basketball.
Fair enough. Don't really know if I agree. I like the intrigue that it adds to allow a team like Memphis to come in and shine. But I also can see where the opposite end of it, of somebody who, like the Warriors, were pretty locked up the 8 seed on the last day of the season, only to fall out of the playoffs in the playoff tournament, or in the play-in tournament. But I also think that's the ups and downs of competitive sports, is that they're making it so a team can have a bad game. Maybe that team that won the 8 seed would have gotten swept by the number 1 seed, but now that the 10 seed made it up there, for some odd reason the matchup is better, and now you got a better series. I could see it from both angles. I don't disagree with what Doual's saying. I would just say that for me, I enjoyed it. Maybe it was because my Warriors were the ones that were in it. It held a little special spot for me. But I enjoyed it and wouldn't mind seeing it come back again next year. I think that it's great. I agree with Doual in the sense that it's stupid in those seasons where the difference between the 8 and the 9 seed is like 7 games. Like then it's like, okay, no, dude, you just don't deserve to even be in the playoffs. But for those seasons when the only difference between the 8 seed and the 10 seed is about a game, maybe a game and a half, I like the idea of a play-in tournament. Everybody gets that opportunity. So Now let's talk some actual playoff basketball. We'll start, of course, with the number 1 seed taking on the Grizzlies. I want to say, hold up, I'm pulling up the stats right now. I want to say Utah is up in that series. Let's see. Yeah, Utah is up 2-1. Ja Morant has had his show-out game. I believe he scored 45 in Game 2 in the loss. So why don't we kick it off with Doual here and your thoughts on this first-round matchup with Memphis and Utah.
It's a good matchup. Memphis is showing just how good that they can be in the next few years to come. I still think Utah is a better team, but Memphis is a lot hungrier because they're so young and inexperienced. So they're really going to give Utah a run for their money. They're really going to play hard. Will it go 7? I don't know. I know this next game is going to really be good because Memphis doesn't look like a team that doesn't believe that they can lose a series. Well, they feel like that they're there for a reason. That's how they're playing. They're playing some real-inspired basketball right now. So I like it. It's a good series, a good matchup. I still think Utah is going to win because I don't think Memphis is experienced enough. But I think it's going to go to at least 6 games, 6 maybe 7, but definitely 6.
All right, and Swab, your thoughts.
So far, it's a good series. I mean, Ja's having his come-out moment. He needs a little bit more help from people like Valanciunas. You can't really go out there and give up just 10 points playing 35 minutes in that Game 3. You don't expect Mike Conley to go 7 of 10 from three-point range, for a game that, Memphis lost by less than 10 points. So, I mean, if Conley isn't able to keep up that scoring punch, then Memphis could definitely extend the series out to 6 or 7 games and even have a chance to knock Utah off.
I think the closer it gets to Game 7 in a one-off, the closer Utah is to being eliminated. And I don't say that because I don't believe Utah is the better team, like Doual said. I honestly and 100% believe that Utah is the better team. But I'm just going to relate this to a conversation that we may pick up again later, gentlemen, that I saw having earlier about which championship would be harder to win, the NFL or the NBA. And everybody has their opinions, but one of the most consistent opinions that I saw is that the NFL to most people would be harder because it's a one-off, because you only get one game to decide everything. You can have a bad game in an NBA series and bounce back and win 3 more or win 4 more and win the series. In an NFL game, you have a bad game, that's it. You go home. And so I think the closer, if I had to put these two teams together, I would say if Utah don't close them out in 4 or 5, this series will get because the more deeper you go into the series, the more confident that young Memphis team is going to become. And they showed that they can go out. Now, Golden State ain't nowhere near on Utah's level this year. But they already went out and showed that nobody scares them. So at the end of the day, if they can get this to a Game 7, I could see Memphis winning it on soul and heart, guts, and blood, and banging out a win just enough to get past out of the first round. But I honestly don't think it's going to go to that. I agree with you guys. It's going to end in 5 or 6 games, and Utah's going to pretty much run away with it. So let's move over to the 2-7, and Suave, kick us off. Your thoughts on what is now a tied series between the Lakers and Phoenix, Chris Paul in Phoenix, and LeBron James and AD in the Lakers, or should I say Chris Paul, Devin Booker in Phoenix. 2-2 series. Suave, your thoughts?
Well, I'm still waiting to see if Davis is actually going to miss some time. He got banged up in that last game and allowed Phoenix to get in there and even the series. Chris Paul's a Hall of Famer, and, he has a younger, and I honestly think this is about the best team he's had since he was in New Orleans. And I know that's kind of a, New Orleans was never that good, but he was getting them consistently to playoffs, and he had a lot of young hitters on those teams for the Hornets when they were the New Orleans Hornets. But I think this team that he's on now is better than any of his Clippers teams. They had a lot of names, but this Suns team hasn't really made their names yet. You got Booker, who's kind of a name, and you've got Ayton, who's turning into one of the better bigs in the league. But I think I like how he affects this team. I think that he was really the missing piece. If he had gotten there a couple years sooner, I'd like their chances a bit more. But it really is kind of be determined by if AD misses a game or two. That could allow Phoenix to really put a stranglehold on the series. LeBron is great, greatest of this era right now. But, I'm not sure he can do it without his Robin. So if AD misses a game or two, it's going to be tough. I mean, the Suns now have that full-on confidence. It's really a best of three right now, and the Suns are feeling themselves. But you can't count out LeBron, especially if AD is able to play all three games. If he has to miss a game or two, I really worry about the Lakers being able to pull out this series.
Doual, your thoughts?
It's going to be a tough one. It's going to go 7. The Lakers need to just play harder, start to finish. Like, we know you're a good team. We know you're a great team. But the switch should be on right now. Like, for everybody, the switch should be on. And it's not. They picking and choosing their times to play. They had a stretch in the fourth quarter when the game was already pretty much over. But if they had played like that throughout the whole game, they would have won. I got off to a pretty good start. Everything was going okay. And then they fell asleep. You started sleepwalking. And another thing that's destroying the Lakers, there's no rotation. Like, you have to find guys, 8 guys, maybe even 9 if you're lucky. And the Lakers are fortunate in that. A rotation of guys that are going to go out there and play basketball. And the Lakers have no fucking clue, no idea as to what their rotation is. And at this point, that's a problem. That's a serious problem. You should know who you're going to play, and you shouldn't be playing one guy one night, and then he's off for 2 nights, and then, he plays again on the third night. It's been that way the whole season long. Guys don't give me rhythm. You don't give me rotation. And that's a bullshit-ass way to run your fucking lineup. That's bullshit. You got one guy playing every 2 or 3 days. Come on, man. How are you supposed to develop a rhythm? How are you supposed to develop a basketball rhythm? And either you're going through the lineup and you're picking and choosing guys to not play for 2 or 3 days. What? No, you play these guys. That's what they do. They play basketball. Lakers have no rotation. They're rocking with guys that they shouldn't be rocking with. And the guys that are sitting need to be playing, and the guys that are playing are sitting. Like, that's a problem. So until they get a rotation, until they get things fixed, until they start playing, harder from start to from the gate, like, you're no longer in cakewalk mode. You're no longer, sleepwalking your way through the season. Go out there and play basketball. Determine who your guys are and rock with those guys. You know they are. But you keep going over here, and I'm going to pick this guy. I'm going to pick this guy. And he's playing terrible. You rocking with Kyle Kuzma. He ain't made a layup all game, all series long. Like, come on, man. It's like 3 or 4 other guys. You sit him down, you let him figure it out, and you see who else is ready. But in order to know who's ready, you've got to have a rotation. You ain't got a rotation. You ain't got a lineup. You ain't got none of that. You just throwing people out there. So, till they get some internal things fixed, it's a problem. Can they beat Phoenix? Yes. Is it going to take 7 games? Probably. But until they get the internal things fixed, until they know who they're playing on their own, until they understand their own roster, until they understand their own personnel and how to get the best out of them, it's a problem. Because they're not playing good. They're not playing good ball consistently at all. And they're not playing consistently with good basketball consistently because they're not playing. What is the rotation? Who are the 8 guys? Is Marquis going to play? Is Montrez going to play? Is Wesley going to play? Is Matt going to play? Like, what is going on? We know KCP is hurt. Understand that. Fine. But, like, what? Is THC going to play? Where's he been? Been a spark plug all year long. Where was he? Where has he been all the series? It's like, find your rotation, know who your guys are, understand your personnel, and rock with the guys who are going to get you win. Because if you don't know who that is, how you going to win a basketball game? So.
Very, very true. All right. So, let me see. So, the next series up has to deal with the man. And I call him the man because the boy can play basketball like no other. The one and only Dame Lillard and them Portland Trailblazers taking on Jokic and the Denver Nuggets. This, to me, was always an interesting matchup because these two teams like to go at people, and I think both have every tool available to go at each other. And so far, it's been a 2-2 series. So, Doual, kick us off with your thoughts on Dame Lillard and them boys. They just won Game 4 to tie it up 2-2, and that's 3-6 series.
No, this is going to be another good one. It's, Portland has to be consistent on the defensive side of the ball. They can score it. They can score from everywhere. They proved that last night. Dame didn't have a good game, but everyone else did. Literally picked him up, and they came out with a win. But Denver is a good, on the verge of great team. Jokic is playing some incredible basketball, and you can tell they're really missing Jamal Murray right now. But even without Murray, they're still playing a great brand of team basketball. So it's going 7. It's going the distance. It's hard to say who's going to win. I like Portland. I think they can pull it out. But in order to do that, they got to go to Denver and do it. And that's not going to be easy. So we'll see.
Suave, your thoughts on the 3-6 series?
I think Portland has a great chance because Denver's missing Jamal Murray. I mean, they definitely need his scoring punch. They'd probably be up 3-1 right now if they had Murray. But, you got to give props to Lillard and his team. To put simply, when a team is missing one of their better players, that's when you need to step up and put a nail on them. But like Doobie said, going to Denver and winning in Denver, it's definitely one of the few true home court advantages of playing up in Mile High, playing in that thinner air up there. But, you can't really put it past Lillard because, Dollar Day ain't been doing it. You feel me? So, I could definitely see him pulling this out, but he's going to have to get one in Denver. And if he can, then, you put Denver's back against the wall and you see who they have to step up. The last game, both teams played 14 dudes. That's kind of crazy, or 11 guys, I should say. 11 guys. But, I think this series of toss-ups is definitely tight. I like the clutchness of Dame. So I think Portland has a real good shot at pulling this out, but they've got to get one in Denver. Otherwise, it's all for nothing.
True that, brother. True that. All right, so stay with us as we move on to this next series, which is a team that to me should have been rated higher, but some say that they tanked the last part of the season so as to avoid the Lakers in the first round. But that's just theory and hearsay. But the Los Angeles Clippers and the Dallas Mavericks. And Dallas currently leads the series 2-1 with them facing off tonight after the Clippers won their first game of the series on Friday. So, Suave, kick us off with your thoughts on this Clippers and Dallas series.
Well, to be honest, this one is one of the crazier ones of the whole playoffs, because, I mean, there's a lot of chatter saying that if the Clippers somehow cough this up and allow Dallas to beat them, you know, the whole team could get blown up, which you don't really hear too often. I mean, that's like something you don't necessarily hear after they just kind of assembled this team together over the last 2 seasons. So it's going to be real interesting if the Clippers lose this next game and Dallas goes up 3-1. Luka can put up points. He does a lot of complaining, you know, but, you know, if Paul George steps up, the Clippers should win this series. But that's a big if. You know, a lot of people call him playoff P, and he's had a lot of moments to shine in the playoffs, specifically in Indiana. But, you know, it's going to be real interesting. The Clippers should have no business losing this series, but Luka is playing pretty good basketball and has been for most of the season, and I'm not putting it past them to pull off the upset. But this next game today, it's the game for the Clippers. This is their season on the line. They cannot afford to go down 3-1 because I just don't see, you know, they're a great team when they're all playing and hitting, but if they lose this next game, the wheels might fall off of it. So, I mean, they've got to come in. They've got to bring it tonight. They got to try and contain Luka, or at minimum contain everybody else around Luka and let Luka go off, you know. But it's going to be the ball's in the Clippers' court. I mean, they've got to do it. They've got to win one in Dallas. You know, the Mavericks have home court advantage technically at the moment, so Clippers got to show it, or Dallas is going to pull off an upset, and then we'll have a crazy offseason with all the speculation out there.
And Doual, your thoughts?
The Mavericks match up well with the Clippers. They have the length, they have the size, and, you know, Luka's just having his way. So, you know, it's a tough matchup for the Clippers. They've already practically completely lost home court advantage. All Dallas has to do right now is close out the series. That's it. When at home, you got a game you can toss on the road, but you don't want to. You know you can put this team away in the next 2 games, so go ahead and do it. But they match up well against the Clippers, and they just know how to play them. They know how to beat them. And so I think the Clippers are in trouble. You don't just lose home court advantage, and then the series starts when a road team wins. But the first 2, like, that's a problem. So I like the Mavericks in this series, and I think they're going to take it in 6.
All right, so that's that. All right, guys, so we're going to go ahead and take a quick pause right there. Take a quick, 2-minute break for these people to listen to some quick podcast promos, and then we'll be back to talk Eastern Conference. You are listening to West Coast Bias right here on the 4Aces Presents Radio Network. Good afternoon, folks. You're listening to Double KK Double, and this is West Coast Bias right here on the 4Aces Presents Radio Network. You can also catch me on Friday nights right here at 8 p.m. with Double K's Classroom or KD5P.
So, what's up? Steve Fingerstyles here, the host of the podcast spelled DA, of course. Tune in each and every week to hear what pisses me off, what angers me, what I make fun of, and of course, my crazy rants. I also have incompetent co-hosts, cool guests, and a silent producer that sucks. So what more do you need from a podcast? You can listen on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, TuneIn, SoundCloud, and the Pod Bros Network. Peace.
From the galactic depths of the comic book universe comes the ghosts of the stratosphere, ready to galvanize and energize your mind with the latest of comic book news and reviews. And why are you stopping me? Yes, that's much better. Hi, this is Andy Larson for Ghosts of the Stratosphere. Join me every week along with my co-hosts Rob Stewart and Chad Smith, as well as a cavalcade of fantastic comic book guests, as we dish out heaping helpings of the greatest and latest of comic book news and reviews. New shows posted every Tuesday with bonus shows every first Friday of the month. You can find us on iTunes and Stitcher under Ghosts of the Stratosphere, as well as on our website, www.gotstratosphere.com. Hope to see you soon, folks.
Hey guys, this is Venice, and I've got a message from a friend of mine about my favorite podcast.
It's your boy, Flavor Flav in full effect. Check this out, everybody. I want y'all to go check out TJ.
What's good, everybody? TJ Johnson here from Voice from the Underground. I am the most handsome.
Big Has.
And I'm smoking my cigar, of course.
You know what I'm saying? The Dutch.
You pick me up in an Uber and a PT Cruiser, I'm calling Lyft.
Cause they be fighting the power, talking about social issues, politics, you know what I'm saying?
And we're not even that good.
Right, we're terrible. Terrible. Tangents all over the place.
And not only that, but they be keeping it fun with the sports, music, comics, and movies too.
Am I allowed to talk?
I think no, not right now.
Shut up, colonizer!
You know what I'm saying? He on Twitter at VFU Podcast. So you can find them. So check 1, 2. This is Flavor Flav. Yeah, boy.
Okay, what Flav was trying to say is, check out Voice from the Underground on your favorite podcast network.
Voice from the Underground.
All right, and we are back. So we're going to go on ahead. We kind of had an executive meeting and made a decision that the Eastern Conference playing wasn't worth it. Anyway, so we're going to go ahead and skip over that and jump directly to the first round series. We'll open with Philly, who's currently up 3-0. Doc Rivers in Philly, who's currently up 3-0 as the 1 seed over Russell Westbrook, Bradley Beal, and the Washington Wizards. So, Suave, kick us off with your thoughts on Westbrook and what looks like yet another first-round exit.
Philly should dominate this series. I mean, they're the better team. Wizards had to play in to get there. They did their job in the play-in to get there, but Philly's the stronger team. They've had the better season, and I think they've just got too much for Westbrook to really overcome.
Doc Rivers has a way of coaching a team up, and when you hand him a good team, he has a tendency to go places with him. But remember, that Lakers, that Clippers squad never made it past the conference finals. Let's see if he can take Philly further. Abdul, your thoughts on Philly and Washington and Philly's 3-0 lead?
Series is over. The Philly's good. They're playing great. They want to chip. Washington started playing good late in the season. And really brought it together. So they became a good team, but the series is over. Philly don't win it. They're going to close them out in the next one.
For sure. Now, the next series, the 2-7 series, we don't need to worry about who's going to close out. Milwaukee already closed out the Heat. Some will call this a revenge series for last year because I believe didn't Miami knock off Milwaukee in the conference finals, or was it like in the second round?
No, one of those two. I can't remember.
Yeah. But needless to say, yeah. Like, this was Milwaukee's revenge. The defending Eastern Conference champions will not be allowed to defend their crown. So, Doual, kick us off with your thoughts on Milwaukee and their sweep of Miami. Let's talk a little bit about how far we expect them to go, maybe.
Milwaukee looks ready. They're on a mission, and they got something to prove. To come out and prove a point against Miami and did just that. So, it's indicative of probably how the series should have went last year. Probably a little bit further in the distance. But, Milwaukee, it was a statement series for them. And so they came out and proved the point.
Suave, your thoughts?
Well, I mean, I think this year is playing more to form of what we expect to happen. Last year was, I feel, a little bit of an anomaly. Miami just played so well, and everybody kind of picked up their game another level. And this year, with Giannis re-signing and the team feeling a bit, I think that honestly kind of lifted the team, just him re-signing that long-term deal, and they felt a bit better about themselves, and it took some pressure off of them. And like Doobie said, this was, revenge, and I fully expect the Bucks to, get to the conference finals, and from there they'll be playing, for it all. But it's going to be a tall task because every year that we think that it's going to be their time to go to the finals and shine, another team steps up and it knocks them off. Last year was Miami, year before it was Toronto. So, I mean, I think this is Milwaukee's opportunity to get to a finals. I don't think that they're feeling the pressure because of Giannis re-signing that long-term deal. I think everybody's kind of picked up their game a bit, but it's going to get tougher from here. This is a team that they should have beaten. They did beat, but it definitely gets harder, each step of the way.
Sure. And sorry, guys, for those of you out there in Radio Land, that was my bad. That's actually the 3-6 matchup, Milwaukee and the Heat. The 2-7 matchup is them Brooklyn Nets and Boston Celtics. And I believe currently, let's see, they play today, and currently Brooklyn leads the series 2-1. And I believe Celtics won the last game. So, Doual, kick us off with Swab, kick us off with your thoughts on the Brooklyn-Boston series.
Well, the Celtics have made it a bit of a series. They've got to win today. Got to protect that home court. But they showed that their game by winning the last game, that it's not going to be necessarily an easy road. But just speaking strictly off of paper, there's no way Celtics should win this series. But it's not outside the realm of possibility. And, it's what they call it. It's not impossible, but improbable for them to be able to beat the Brooklyn Nets. I think Brooklyn's playing some real good ball. I think they dropped the ball, to be honest, in that game 3 where they really had a chance to put a chokehold on the series, but they're just looking to steal one. It's that typical playoff basketball where you defend your home court and just hope to get one on the road. So hopefully they hold true to form and are able to not really give any life to the Celtics, but you can't really discount the Celtics. They're coached really well, and they will be at home. And if they can tie this series up and make it a 2 out of 3, you can't really discount them because of how well they're coached. And maybe the pressure then really starts to get to Brooklyn. They have huge high expectations, but, they do have some things that, kind of red flags. They do have KD, and KD is always going to be KD. But, when it really comes down to it, is Harden going to turn into the turnover machine? Is Kyrie going to take over and take a lot of bad shots, and kind of, doom that team? That's really, will it all come together or will it all fall apart? And if the Celtics can win this game, they put the pressure on them, and, having those 3 stars, you would think it'd be, overpowering, but, Celtics pulled it back. It was a tight game, 125-119, so tonight's the real test. If Brooklyn's really for real, they'll go into Boston and they'll win this game and put a stranglehold on the series.
There you go. And Doual, your thoughts on the big 3 in Brooklyn facing off against the storied Celtics franchise.
It's a good matchup. I think it's going to be a good series. The Celtics have not played to their level all year long, and not having James Brown is definitely going to hurt. So I think the Nets is a series that the Nets can win. Even though the big 3 haven't played together all year, about 7 or 8 games, they're still good enough to kind of find their way against a team that's not really playing up to their potential. But that being said, it's a very simple formula for beating the Nets. And Steve is playing on some of it. You have to get Kyrie to dribble the ball and take over the game. And you have to get the ball out of James Harden. Well, you have to force James Harden to be a turnover maker. In order to do that, you have to get the ball out of James Harden's hand. And the Celtics did that in Game 3 when they won. You know, it wasn't at first, but then they made a concerted effort to keep the ball out of Harden's hand and let Kyrie handle it, let some of the other guys. Harden is a playmaker. You know, they got him listed at the 2 guard, this air, and so on and so forth. But he's really a point guard. And if you put the ball in his hand and allow him to dictate the ebb and pace and flow of a game, he can dominate a game. He's proven that he can do it. You know, he's gonna get you 25. He can get you 10 assists at any point in the game. If the ball is in his hand, the less the ball is in his hands, the more he has to force it a little bit later on, right? So if you can do an effective job of limiting his touch, period, right, and allowing Kyrie to be the point guard, allowing Kyrie to be the show, well, he's going to go out there and he's going to do what he does best, dribble basketball. He's going to dribble it, and in that, guys are going to get stagnant, you know, because Harden does a lot of dribbling, but his dribbling is a little bit more intentional. See, when Kyrie's dribbling the ball, he's dribbling the ball to get his own shot, almost. A little jumper, a little floater, a little this, a little that. He's going to shake and bake, get you a pop, and he's going to put on the show. But when Harden dribbles, it's some of that there, but it's a lot more intentional. He's looking more to penetrate and kick. When he's dribbling and he has the ball in his hands, he's going to grab it. He's going to make 1 or 2 good moves. He may get a little flashy, but he's going to get into the cup. He's getting to the cup. That's where he's going. That's where he wants to go first. And when he does that, he's able to get easy assists. Guys working behind, you know, kick outs to the 3 in the open man, kick outs to the 3 in the swing for a shooter. So if you take the ball out of his hands, you can limit that. And Kevin Durant is the guy. He's going to wait for the ball. He's going to get his. In the minute that he touches it, he's going to get his. You know, but if you can limit those touches by keeping the ball out of James Harden's hand and not allowing him to be the dominant playmaker, you give yourself a chance. Because then guys like Joe Harris aren't going to get as many touches. Then guys like Blake Griffin aren't going to get as many touches. Then, you know, those other guys, they're not going to get as many touches because Harden's not being the playmaker. The ball is not in his hands where he can dominate not only his opponent individually, but, you know, blowing by his opponent, getting to the cup, creating fouls, getting foul calls, creating extra points and opportunities for guys. That's what keeps other guys into the game. That's what keeps the other guys flowing and their rhythm going. What he's been doing all year long, ball flows through him. He's the actual point guard. And letting Kyrie do some of the 2-guard stuff, some of the ISOs and so on and so forth. You got to let Kyrie be the ball handler. You got to let Kyrie be the guy who initiates the offense. You got to let Kyrie be the guy, you know, if you're playing against him. So that way, you're limiting the playmaking ability of James Harden, and you're going to create a sense of urgency in him that doesn't necessarily need to be there if he's playing from behind. And now he has to force some things. Now his rhythms become a little bit different. Now his motions become a little bit different because he has to force it. He's got to play with ease and with rhythm, and he's able to do whatever he wants to do. But now he has to do things. The game becomes a lot more difficult. So if you want to make the game difficult for James Harden and give yourself a chance to beat the Nets, you got to take the ball in.
Very well said, sir. Very well said. Now, I believe there's only one series left to cover, and it's the series that unfortunately is making a lot of East Coast people very, very sad. One of those being ESPN's Stephen A. Smith, who was oh so excited about the fact that the Knicks made the playoffs. And trust me, I even thought the Knicks was going to do some damage this year with the way Julius Randle and them are playing. But they ran into the buzzsaw that is the Atlanta Hawks with Trae Young. So, Doual, kick us off with your thoughts on the Hawks Knicks 4-5 series out the East.
It's a good matchup, and it's all going to be determined on who wants it more. Both teams are young, inexperienced, hungry, needing playoff experience, need to know what it feels like, and it's a good matchup for the both of them. So It's really going to come down to who wants it more. I just think Atlanta's going to be the better team.
Suave, your thoughts?
Well, I mean, the Knicks, it's the first time they've really been in the playoffs in a good minute. The team just kind of came together and played well throughout most of the season. Randall had a coming out season in a sense. He was their best player, and he's kind of been given the keys to the franchise for the moment. They had opportunities, but I think Atlanta, having been together so long, and the Knicks having just come together, I think is the difference in this series so far, which is why the Atlanta's up 3-1. You can't really ever count anybody out anymore. 3-1, we all know about that. So, but I think Atlanta's full on in the driver's seat. Hopefully they don't relax, because if they allow the Knicks to come back and make this a series and get to a Game 6 or a Game 7, I think it could get real interesting, and Atlanta might tighten up because the Knicks might not know any better and can pull off a miracle. But they played great, and if it does end, in the next game for the Knicks, they still had a great season, and at least now they finally identified how they should approach going into next season and who the guys on the team should be. And it's kind of good to see the Knicks have a halfway decent team.
All right, and I will be in complete agreement with y'all. I think that Atlanta I think it's a case of like Memphis and the Warriors. I think Atlanta just came in the hungry team. I think that with Derrick Rose and Julius Randle, I think the Knicks have a team to be proud of. Tibbs has turned that team around, but this just ain't their year. It's just looking like it's Atlanta's year to get out the first round. So here's the last question, fellas, just to put it on record. And Doual, you can kick us off. Who you got going to the finals?
I can't call it. I don't know. And at this point, I really don't know. No, seriously, it's really anybody's ball game. The Lakers don't look like the Lakers. Utah looks like it could be that team. But they're a little bit struggling with Memphis. New Jersey could be it. Do they have enough chemistry? It's too many questions. It's too many variables. It's really a toss-up. I really don't know and really can't call it. So, maybe next week, next month, when it comes down to it's a little bit more streamlined. But right now, I really can't tell you.
Suave, you want to take a stab at it?
I mean, this one's super tough. I mean, there's 3 teams in the East. You got Philly, Milwaukee, and Brooklyn. They're all looking strong, and it's going to come down to those 3, and 2 of those 3 in the Eastern Conference. The West is a bit thicker, I think. Can Utah come together and find a way to push and get to the finals? Denver, if they can get past Portland, or is Dame going to have a chance to streak and get his team to a finals and put that finals appearance on his resume? Can the Lakers, resurrect their season? Can Chris Paul, pull together Phoenix and have a run himself? I mean, it's so wide open right now that there aren't any real true front runners outside of the 3 teams in the East that you expect to be fighting to get into the conference finals or in the East. I mean, the West it's so thick right now. It's really tough to call. And I can't really say there's especially in the West, there's just not that. I can't even call it just 2 teams I expect to get to the conference finals. It's so deep right now that anything could happen.
And this is exactly what I love about playoff basketball. It hasn't been like this in a while, and I'll admit that my favorite team is the reason for that, but I'm happy that it's like this again. Gentlemen, that'll wrap us up for this week. Suave, I want to thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to join us today. I just spoke with O'Malley over the messenger, and she's mad she missed it. So we'll have to have you back again
We'll tell her
sometime.
I took all her topics anyway.
Doual, glad to have you back. Like I said, our next episode will probably be about the 3rd week of June. So let's look out for us about that time. Till then, y'all, stay up, stay right, and be good to each other. And that's it for us. Peace.